Battlegrounds where legends reign. Aussie gridiron pride unchained. Hear the thunder, feel the flame. Touchdowns and tackles, ain't no shame in the Aussie gridiron game.
G'day Aussie Gridiron fans and welcome to the AGN Playoff Series for 2025. What is the AGN Playoff Series, you ask? Because obviously you are listening to my voice and you would usually be hearing me on G'day Gridiron. Well, it is a few shows every week where everybody in the Aussie Gridiron Network comes together in one absolutely hilarious and nonsensical stream to discuss the games through the playoffs and play a bit of fantasy as well. So, everybody, I say, we've got the majority of us here. Let me just introduce everybody, and I'm not going to do long intros for everybody because that would take probably the night. And we've already been sitting here for half an hour so far talking absolute nonsense before we start recording. So, big welcome to Matty C, Manjot,
Hey-o.
Brad, Taylor, and Nick. We're the only one we are missing is, or the only two we are missing is Isaac and Marky Mark. Hopefully we'll get one or two of them as well, just to add to this insanity, Matty.
Mate, this is mad. I love that we do this every year too, and it's grown. I think the first year we did a playoff show, we had maybe 4 of us. Last year, there was definitely at least 5. And this year we've got a maximum, a home capacity crowd was going to be 8 of us. So it just shows the network is growing. The interest in American football and the different ways you process American football in this country is growing. And I love that we're at the forefront of it. Aussie Gridiron Network, clearly the running away is the best place to get everything.
Yes, out and out, mate. Absolutely. It is the best place to get absolutely everything. NFL talk, fantasy football, of course. You boys been killing that for years. Manjot doing heaps of stuff with the local game. So
everything. Aussie Gridiron, NFL, college, you fucking name it. Manjot's been doing all of it, mate. How are you, mate? I haven't seen you in a few weeks.
Oh, fuck yeah. It's been a long time since I've seen all of y'all.
Yeah.
I used to be on weekly podcasts with everyone here except Nick, of course, who took my place on Good Day Grind. But yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen you guys. And, it's always great to be back and everything. Shout out to everyone who's listening, wherever you are, on Apple, Spotify, even YouTube. Just want to plug in the Pastry Press YouTube channel. You can find this show and our other fantasy show as well on the YouTube channel. Just want to let you all know that as well. So give us a listen there as well. YouTube Music, YouTube, whatever YouTube app you want to use, that you can find us there.
Nick, your first year of experiencing this insanity, and obviously the last half hour has probably given you a bit of a taste of how this whole shit show is going to go down. How are you feeling?
Mate, it's like when a company has like an end of year Christmas party. This is like our start of year sort of start to the playoffs. It's just on another level.
That meant like
everyone in.
It's just cool.
Well, it is kind of like that. Taylor's already 17 gins deep.
Matty's exercised the budget for the drinking.
Matty's got the longest glass I've ever seen in my life. It looks like he's 18 and drinking out of a yard glass over there.
It's a half yard. How did you know?
How big's your drink though, Matty?
It was a half yard. Now it's not.
That you missed that joke completely. Taylor would have got it. Taylor?
Yeah. Look, great to be here, Ian. I know that wasn't a technical lead-in, but I'm going to take it as one. For anyone,
it was a dick joke, and I threw it to you. How is that not a lead-in?
Look, I've been thrown many dicks, and I'm sending this one away. Like I send every other one away, mate. I'm not quite desperate enough to go there, but look, mate. Plus 800 for any Americans out there who bet on Manjot to be the first one to swear. So well done for that. Also, kind of threw Nick under the bus by saying that he was, took his spot on there. So well done, Manjot. You've already brought it out twice. But look,
it's just a substitute Niners fan.
I'm moister than a playoff oyster to be here, mate, and I can't wait to get into these games.
God damn it, we should have had Taylor come up with a rhyme. Matty, what did we
I
do?
Mate, I just brought one up on the spot.
2 minutes.
You didn't even need to tell me.
Given 2 minutes, he'll do a rhyme for the next 30 seconds. Just give him
That
2
was
minutes.
paying minus 400.
Do we reckon Burrow is full of sorrow by not making the playoffs? Or
That is a terrible rhyme. It's so good. It's great. Brad, you're probably the only one that hasn't talked so far, which is amazing.
save us, Brad. Save us.
I'm still stuck on the Christmas party reference because if it's like that, Ian and I are going to end up locked in the broom closet together comparing our swords. So
I'm not denying that that's going to happen.
Virtually even two.
Is that a standard thing at Christmas parties? Just comparing swords?
No,
yeah.
just if you're as old as Brad and I, we don't.
Now we're
Get
talking
an
about
erection,
actual
don't waste it.
swords
That's
here.
what I'm saying.
Actual
You're at
swords.
40. If you get one, just don't waste it.
No, that's right. Could be your last one when you're this old.
You never know.
Yeah, exactly.
Swords is not
Great
a
Billy
gift.
Connolly said that.
All right. What are we doing here? Well, tonight we are going to preview every game from a massive wildcard round. Everyone's going to try and preview a game, and we're all going to throw in a little bit, some pieces, and preview some amazing wildcard games for everybody out there. And then what I will move on tomorrow, you will probably hear, yes, you will, not probably. I'm going to stop saying the word probably. Tomorrow, you will hear the fantasy component where we will have a whole lot more fun, which is likely to go for about 3 hours the way we're going on right now. So,
Can't wait.
I know, I can't wait either. We're also going to, tonight, we're going to build, we've been doing bloody best bets on G'day Gridiron all season. We thought, what can we couple with betting? We're going to make a playoff edition multi for everybody out there. Everyone's going to pick one line from any one of the games, any line that they want that they are pretty keen on, and then you can either bet if you want to follow along and bet individually, or I'm going to jam them all in as a multi and see just how much they're going to end up as for everybody out there.
Just like coin toss, what the weather is, who has the longest sword. Could be anything.
Yeah, anything, anything. I wish we, yeah. So anyway, we're just going to go for a full multi and see how we go, and see if we can keep this to a respectful time frame. But we are not going to promise anything. So strap yourselves in for this ride because it is going to be an amazing one. Boys, let's start off some wildcard previews, shall we?
Let's do it.
Nick,
Yeah.
I put everybody's name into a random generator and picked out names for who was going to preview what game. Unfortunately, my name did come out on the game that I don't want to preview, but that's how it is and that's how life goes. But Nick came out first, and he gets the first game of the wildcard round for 2025, and it is Chargers at Texans.
Nick always comes first.
Like, that's not necessarily false. I can't believe out of all the teams that you don't, or all the matchups you want to do, you don't want to even do your own team. And out of everyone here, you're the one that's in the playoffs here. But anyway, we'll get to that later on.
Oh, I am the only one. I just realised that. Oh, well, whatever.
Shouldn't have said that.
It's 1 year. It's 1 year out of how many? Anyway, sorry, Nick, go.
So
start.
Chargers at Texans. So I suppose a lot of the talk coming into the playoffs is you probably pick out a team that's probably like the weakest, or the team where you probably go, oh, they're probably not going to be as good. They're probably a team who you want to have if you're the 5 seed. That this year I feel like it's been the Texans for a lot of reasons, particularly offensively. They don't invest much on their offensive line, which is why they're labeled that team. And they've had some issues with being able to get the passing game going compared to last season. Stroud's regressed. He's had a sophomore slump, but they find themselves in a spot similar to where they were last year to be able to make a run, I suppose. At the end of the day, we've had a look just defensively with both of these teams. Houston are still quite a good defensive team. Like, from both these teams, they're both top 10 in opponents' passing yards per game, opponents' touchdown interception ratio, opponents' passing rating, and then sacks and also pressure. So both teams are top 10 in all of those categories. So if anything, you're probably looking at the under in this game, just for one for the betting later on. But I think it's a big game for Justin Herbert as well. He's been in the league for a little bit now, had the chance to be able defeat the Jaguars a few years back, but they gave up that massive first half lead. So it's really a big game for them, and I think there's been a few games this year where they have gotten that sort of monkey off their back, where they've been in a position where they could have choked some games but didn't. So really interesting to see with this game. I do like the Chargers. The Chargers are my team for the playoffs, hence I know that the listeners won't hear it, but I've got Jim Harbaugh on the background. Still love him from when he was coaching us. So I do have to go with the Chargers. I do have to go
He's
with
in
the
all his
Chargers
Chargers gear in the
I
picture
think
for those who can't see. He's in all of his Chargers gear. He's not in any
That's
49ers
right.
gear at all.
that's exactly right. But I am if I'm picking away, I'm picking to go with the Chargers. I think they're -2.5, so with a field goal. I trust them up front. I think that's where they're going to win that game, is because I think their pass rush will be too much for Houston to be able to handle. But I think offensively, Dobbins may be back at full strength, which would be a plus for them. So they'll be able to run the ball a bit more. They've loosened up in their passing game a little bit more throughout the second half of the season. So they've got a bit of flexibility with what they can do. So I think the Chargers will be able to win in a few different ways. The Texans really have to be good blocking up front, but I do have the Chargers taking this one and advancing next week, and I think they'll end up playing the Chiefs next week.
Oh, look at you blowing your load early. Yeah,
Twice now.
the you know what, the Chargers are my favorite too, and you know why? I think they're going to win the Super Bowl because they signed Zeke Elliott. That's why.
Yeah,
Yeah,
baby.
Cowboys in there.
That put them over the top. Thank you very much. I agree with you, Nick. I think the Chargers are going to win this. The Houston's just too depleted on their defense and just injuries overall on their team, and the Chargers defense is just too good. So yeah, I'm with you on the Chargers, man.
I'm with you too. I really like the Chargers. One part I reckon they're going to be able to get it over Houston, because I kind of like looking at the matchups between them, and this is probably the fantasy brain in me, but I looked at which rushing defenses are good and which passing defenses are good, and really the biggest mismatch is actually the Chargers passing game against the Texans defending the pass, and I think Ladd McConkey is going to be a huge factor in this game. He's basically gone over 5.5 receptions in 6 of the last 7 games, and the Texans were basically we're getting torched in fantasy for 25th against the fantasy position and wide receiver. So I reckon they're going to be one that's going to get hammered by the wide receivers, and McConkey's going to be one that does it. And I really trust Herbert probably more than Stroud in this game. So I really think that they can get a lead early and sort of lean on it. I've got them by 7, the Chargers.
Have you got scores? I want to get you guys. We did this last year where we also got everyone to predict scores, and I kept a scoreboard on this, and we kind of enshrined one of us as like an expert winner, depending on getting the tip right, but also like a bonus point if you get the margin right, and then an extra bonus point if you actually get the fucking score correct. So,
I'm with
Taylor. Have you got a score? And I'll work my way back.
Yeah, let's do it. Absolutely. I hadn't even thought of that, Matty. Great idea.
Yeah.
Who'd you say first?
Tay, you got a score?
I'm with Nick. I think it will be kind of on the lower scoring side. I've got it being 24-17.
17. Brad, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm definitely taking the under. I've got 21-17.
17. Wow. And Nico?
Let's go with 20-16.
Oh, I like a weird one. That's fun.
Scorigami.
All right, MANJOT. What do you got? Where are you going with this one?
Yeah, I'm going that lower side. I think Chargers 16 and Texans 10.
Oh, he's also going Chargers. How come?
Yeah, Chargers, I think are the better team here for sure. I think they've got a much better run game, much better passing game as well on offense. And the Texans defense, as the boy said, too depleted to stop them, I reckon. So I'm going here with the Chargers. I think the Texans just have run out of horses. You know, they're playing their traditional Saturday, 3 p.m. Central Time game on a wildcard weekend. And I feel like much like a lot of the other wildcard games they played, they're going to fall short.
Mate, I like this. Everything you say, except I think it's going to be more of a score fest. I'm going to go Chargers 27-10. Blow them out of the water. 3 scores, baby. I've got some balls. You guys all chicken shit going for 1-score games.
Yeah, it is a bit low. All these 1-score games.
We got Ian.
Well, this will be good then.
What?
Good game, surely.
I can't wait till the Texans win this and all of us get 0 points from the first game. It's going to be so delicious.
I genuinely don't think they're going to win it. I just that. Yeah, the boys have all said it. The offense is way too depleted. I mean, their defense is playing okay, but not great. So,
Yep.
Matty, I would probably go 24-12 to the Chargers.
12. Oh, I love this. Weird scores. I love it.
Can I just say I don't think either team's going to run the ball well in this game. I actually don't think this will be J.K. Dobbins led Chargers game because I actually think the Texans' best part of the game is defending the run, and I actually think the Chargers are going to be able to defend Mixon. Obviously, with that Nick mentioned the struggles with the offensive line of Houston as well. I think it really is down to which quarterback plays better. I really do think that they're going to need to win in the air, and that's why I think the Chargers have the edge, and that's why I obviously brought up Ladd McConkey. I just trust. Honestly, Herbert more than Stroud. I don't see this being a big Dobbins or Mixon game. I think it's going to be one at the quarterback position, and that's why I'll definitely be taking the Chargers of Herbert.
I reckon I'm with you, mate. I don't think it's going to be a big running game. I reckon those, just in my head, I feel like the Texans' scores will probably come on the ground, though, even though it won't be a big running game. So I reckon Mixon will be grand for like an anytime TD.
Yep.
It's just a feeling that I have. But it'll be like, yeah, it'll be like a 2 or 3 yard, like out from the goal line kind of deal.
Yep. Ram it in.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
I wish my wife said that.
That's a landslide. That's Texans, 6 Chargers. AGN leading heavily.
I'm pretty sure, didn't we do this last year with Cleveland against the Texans, and we all went Cleveland, and they fucking...
Actually, I could probably go back and find that out just to see how bad we were. Yeah,
there was one game.
There was definitely one game where
I swear it was the exact same game. It was Cleveland instead of the Chargers. We all took Cleveland and Texans won.
I think Houston don't have a defense this year, so that's all right, mate.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Second game of the weekend, and the next one who came out of the Magic Machine to preview a game is Brad, and he's got Steelers at Ravens. What a classic matchup, Brad.
I love coming out of into the Steelers game.
I actually secretly, when it came out as you for this game, I was like, Brad will love to preview this game.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. No, you couldn't have a tale of 2 different cities here in terms of Pittsburgh and the Ravens. If you're a reader, you understood that reference. Basically, Pittsburgh is coming into this just on a nosedive. They believe it or not, they had a 2-game lead on Baltimore as recently as week 15. And they just completely collapsed like a house of cards. So the Ravens, on the other hand, they've won their last 4 games in a row. They're playing their best football possible. The interesting thing here is they split the regular season series. So the Steelers won the first one 18-16. And then Baltimore blows them out in the second one. How did they get those 18 points in week 1? Well, that's going to be the recipe or the key to success. They got to play the same way they did week 1. And the key is ball control. So the Steelers held the ball for 15 minutes longer in that game than they did than the second time around. And they can't settle for 6 field goals, which is what happened in the first game. And I don't know if you remember that game or not, but Baltimore also missed a couple gimmies as well. And so come playoff time, you can't do that. So what do the Steelers need to do? They need to ball control the offense. They got to hit a couple more deep shots. It's just as much as I want Russ to succeed, the guy is just – it's just not working. I mean, in terms of when teams now, they know how to defend him. They make him throw the sidelines, and they're doubling or they're rolling coverage over to Pickens, and it's just next to impossible to complete it these last few games. So it's, in my opinion, it's going to take a little bit of a miracle if the Steelers want to do it. And but it does boil down to that ball control. I think for the Baltimore, it's just going to be feed the rock, give it to just run the ball down their throat is basically what it's going to come down to. So I wish this was a more exciting game. It's always good to see a divisional matchup, but I don't think third time playing. I think the Ravens are just too well coached. And you got to say, okay, historically, Steelers have had their number, but Tomlin, is going to make it tough on them. But I think when a push comes to shove, Lamar Jackson, even though 2 of his 4 picks were against the Steelers, I think he'll have a game. And the Ravens have a maturity level, I feel like, to him this year that they haven't had in years past. So I'm leaning the Ravens definitely to win this and to cover the spread, even though it is a large spread. I think it's like 9.5.
It's the biggest one of the weekend at 9.5.
Yeah.
Massive.
But
It's crazy to me in a divisional matchup.
Yeah, it
And
is.
playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely.
That division specifically, it's like, whoa.
Yeah. So I'd be curious to know, what do you guys think?
Everyone's aware of just how many times Brad said ball then, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did a quick count, and I drank for everyone, and I'm not going to be able to stand up for now.
He played the drinking
All of a
game.
sudden, drunk more than I have.
Yep. I'll start off here with the Ravens. I mean, like Nick said, he's claimed the Chargers as his team. I've claimed the Ravens. Obviously, everyone knows I'm a big Lamar fan.
That's the most obvious thing ever, MANJOT.
Most obvious thing here. So, as Brad talked about, ball control is very important. Ravens' best rushing offense in the entire NFL. You got 2 monsters back there in that backfield. Derrick Henry, the second leading rusher in the NFL behind Saquon Barkley. And then you got probably the best rushing quarterback of all time. I think it's safe to say he is Lamar Jackson, and potential MVP as well there. So 2 guys I feel like that will just absolutely take the game away from the Steelers here. I think the Ravens, compared to years past as well, they're a lot more better built in the run game, and I think that's going to serve them well in this playoff run. I think having a guy like Henry compared to what they've had in the backfield in the past is going to be a big advantage for them in this postseason. And that's why I'm pretty happy with how the Ravens have built this roster. I think they can stand up to any team. And honestly, I'm going with the Ravens here. I don't think it'll be close as well. I think the Ravens will win by a couple scores, in my opinion.
Anyone else got any opinions on the game?
Is anyone?
You're right.
No, you go, Taylor.
I was just going to say quickly, I'm with Brad that I think that Steelers are going to have to muck the game up to have any chance. Like, it's going to, like, if the Steelers win, it's going to have to be like a 15-12 or an 18-15 or something. Like, it's going to have to be so much Boswell. And I really just don't see the Steelers walking in there and being able to light them up. And the thing is about the Ravens is you've seen them sort of struggle in the playoffs before, but they generally come out in the first game where they're expected to win, and they normally do pretty well. Like you saw them against the Texans last year, they just wiped the floor with Stroud. So it's not like, even though the Ravens have had struggles in the playoffs, that they don't at least win one game. And I can see that happening again here, where they walk in against a team they're expected to beat and they do it very, very well. I just don't see where the Steelers are going to beat them. They don't seem to have any continuity between Pickens and Russ at the moment. Even their defense doesn't look as good as it looked earlier in the year when they did beat the Ravens, and that's the problem. Is they're going to have to keep the Ravens under 20 points, and I don't know if that's going to happen with the current way that the Steelers' defense looks. So, like, unless Watt and Hayward just go nuts, I just don't see any sort of way that this game's even close. So I know Matty's going to ask for a score later, but I've got him at 27-9. I just don't think the Steelers score a lot of points. So, yeah, I've got them winning by 18, the Ravens.
Interesting. All right. So I'm on an island, I think. I am actually leaning the Steelers with this one.
Oh, talk to us.
I have seen Lamar Jackson in the playoffs for the past few years, and it hasn't been great. 57%.
Have you seen Russ in the playoffs any of those years?
I have seen.
Just asking for a friend.
Hey, Ross has won a Super
Kez,
Bowl.
if you're listening.
Russ has been to a Super Bowl. Russ has won a Super Bowl. Even though he's
Last few years?
He did it with the Seahawks.
10
well,
years
we're gonna
ago.
go the
Sorry,
last few
10.
No, Matty, it's a 49ers fan praising
know.
a Seahawks player.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how much this is unbiased when I'm saying that. I can't trust at the moment from what I've seen from Lamar Jackson. I can't trust him in the playoffs at the moment. I think there's two things to this. I think this Lamar Jackson against the Steelers is 2-4 in his career. He's played maybe one good game, which was his last one. You can argue the monkeys off the bat. I'm not so sure. Pittsburgh is still quite good defensively. They'll definitely tighten up. And I think where this game could be actually won for Pittsburgh is if they get those deep shots, because the whole season, Baltimore's pass defense has still been a shambles. Like they're still one of the worst, if not, I think the worst in the league in terms of pass yardage. So this is going to be a game where I think Mike Tom will have his guys lock down the run game as much as they can, like they did in that first game, and force them to throw. Now, I think Zay Flowers has had some issues, and I think also Mark Andrews has some issues during the week. So it's going to be a game where they're going to force Lamar Jackson, I think, to throw the ball. And he hasn't had success doing that. You look at last year against the Chiefs, and then, he played well against Houston. But then in the years prior, Buffalo did that, and they were able to shut him down. Tennessee did that and were able to shut him down as well.
Yeah.
So this is a game where I think it has to be a prove-it game for Lamar. I think the run game has to be established very early on. I would get Lamar some easy looks, get him in some run options, some speed options, anything like that, just to get his confidence going. Because if they start this game slowly and Pittsburgh are either in the lead or they're within a touchdown or within a field goal, I think things are going to start to tighten up. And that's where I think there's going to be some chances for Pittsburgh to be able to steal this game. So I think that's where the game's going to be won and lost, because Pittsburgh are going to have those shots because this defense on the back end isn't that good. So this is definitely a game where that 9.5 is huge, is absolutely huge. So I don't think, at the very most, I don't think it's going to be covered. But I think it's definitely a look as an underdog to win outright in this one. So, and it is going to be low scoring. I think it is going to be low scoring. I'm going to go, let's go 12-10. Pittsburgh.
Whoa.
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 Wow.
All
Okay.
field goals. Just like the first game.
Yeah, that's how they won it.
And they've done that a few times this year.
Yeah, they
did
have.
it against, was it Atlanta? I think Atlanta was one.
Yeah, Boswell's the
week one.
MVP, Matty, remember?
Yeah.
I've been saying
one of them
that,
was against
and
Baltimore.
everyone's been laughing me out of the room. Boswell, he's not
With
even
you.
on the fucking
With you.
ballot. It's bullshit. Burrow, who can't beat a team above 500, apparently he's the MVP. No, Boswell.
Yeah, sorry for not putting him on the ballot, Matty. That was me.
Yeah.
That was me.
I know, and you look silly.
Home of the
You
guild.
look silly, and I don't want to rub it in.
When has Matty not wanted to rub it in?
No, that's rub it out, not rub it in.
I have to rub it in Nick now. This is my problem. I've got to rub it in Nick. Oh, yeah, the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar, I don't trust him. Okay, can you name the people in this league who've had more passing touchdowns this year? Okay, there's one guy. The list is one guy. Can you also tell me, is there anyone who's created more offense in the entire league this year? There's actually no guy. There is 0 guys ahead of Lamar Jackson, and he is at home against a team who he pounded the piss out of. I'm old enough to remember 3 weeks ago. I'm that old. I can remember that. And do I think it's going to be any different? Okay, they didn't have George Pickens. Oh, George Pickens is going to change the world. He's going to change a 20-point blowout on the road in a game that the Steelers, their only win, they didn't even score a damn touchdown, and Pickens was there. Pickens was there. As soon as you move Kyle Hamilton into the safety and away from the corner, they've conceded more than 20 points once to the Eagles. I'm okay with that. So I don't know. Everything Nick says, throw it out. He's wrong. He's wrong. And the Baltimore Ravens are going to win this one 36-16.
That was fast, coming at me faster than a
Boom! Drinking from the fire hose, Bradley.
Look at the time out here.
Go on, rebut. It's okay to be wrong.
No.
Oh well, I mentioned all about the playoffs, and you mentioned about passing touchdowns this year and everything. So if we're going to use a lot,
I'm old enough to remember this, Nick.
Hang on. I'm old enough to remember something earlier in the year. Now, this is obviously hypothetical because they could be playing the week after, obviously.
Earlier in the year,
But
it
if-
was like week 13.
Hang on. Hear me out first. So if the Ravens play the Bills, are the Bills going to lose by 3 touchdowns again?
Probably.
Probably.
Come on.
That's
Their
interesting.
defense
That's
stinks.
interesting.
Their defense.
No, they
stinks.
won't, because all the things you brought up, Nick, about the issues of the Ravens' pass defense will
Their
be
secondary problems are over.
more than it is against Russ. That's my
Over.
opinion. But we're not
Problems
talking
are
about
over.
the game. But I just think that a lot of what you brought up is an issue against a team like the Bills more so than against the Steelers, because I don't think the Steelers can actually exploit the issues with the Ravens secondary.
Yeah, I don't see it either. I mean, last
This is the
week
Ravens
they're
secondary
playing
that
against
exists
they're playing against the Bengals last week, the Steelers, and they didn't do much on offense at all. I mean, they had like a million drop passes and everything, but I'm still not seeing any offensive creativity at all from the Steelers all season. Just typical Mike Tomlin sort of bullshit going on where they get to like 10 wins and then they just drop off from there. I just don't see it with the Steelers here, Nick. I have to completely disagree. They're a team. I see absolutely nothing in the Steelers.
They're 49ers East. They just can't do it in the playoffs.
Nick,
There's a few 49ers. You can't say 49ers East when they play in the freezing.
there's a lot of those.
Okay,
There's a
if
lot of
it's
those
Miami-
teams right now.
If it's Miami, it's a bit different. But
Nick,
All right. Do we
Nick.
all want to give our scores or
Nick,
who
hang on,
else?
hang on. Nick,
yeah,
I agree with you.
Here we
You
go.
know
what?
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
And you know
I'm
what?
not on an island.
Damn, I was
I'm
going to
not on an
respect
island.
Nick for being on an island.
I'm going to give you a couple of numbers. 3 numbers. 183, 107, and 2.
They sound like shit numbers.
And the other one is 8 and 9.
Kick return yards.
No, that is Mike Tomlin's record versus the Baltimore Ravens since 2007. 183, 107, and 2, 8 and 9 in the postseason. 8 and 9 is very specific to this game because we all know Mike Tomlin has a deal with the devil to always be at 500. He's currently 8 and 9 to the Ravens in postseason. What happens in this game if they win? 9 and 9. That's 500. There's that deal. Constant deal with the devil.
He can't have played the Ravens
Yes, 17 times in the postseason.
You mean,
Mate, since
do you mean that's his
2007.
playoff record or his playoff record against the Ravens? 'Cause his
overall.
playoff record against the Ravens has to be like twice.
No, there's no way that
Overall.
was no. I think his overall.
Yes,
Yes,
surely
he's overall.
he-
It's got his overall, but that's
Yeah, cool.
500. So he goes to 500.
plus
Do you know what's his
look,
overall record
on
again?
top of that,
Matty,
for Tomlin,
183, 102, and 2. So-
He needs to do a lot of losing to bring that to 500, mate.
I know he does. The other thing is, Matty, what they had in the first game versus the second game in terms of the Steelers, they had George Pickens and they had Darnell Washington. So Russ was without two actual receivers. We're on a team that has 0 receivers. So, he's got the 2 actual receivers they have back in this game as well.
You,
So
I, and Darnell Washington share about 5 receptions in the NFL, Ian.
I just think it's going to be a Mike Tomlin game. Manjot hit it on the head, hit his head as well because he's a 49ers fan, so he hit it years ago. But I think Manjot hit it on the head where it will be a Mike Tomlin bullshit game, and he's been in his bullshit bag where
100%.
they didn't need any more than 10 wins. And Manjot, did they need to do anything last week to get into the playoffs? No,
I mean,
that's why
no.
they played like shit. It's just like the Chiefs losing and putting up an egg,
Yeah.
last
Mentioned
week.
earlier in the week.
they didn't need
100%.
to do
Great
shit.
call on the show with you and Isaac, by the way.
So
could have
I just
won.
think it is going to be this total Mike Tomlin game, and everyone's going to be focusing on the Ravens, saying how much they're going to blow them out, just like Matty said, and all this stuff. And what we're going to end
gonna
up
be
seeing, is some ridiculous bullshit score. And here you are, Matty, 8-6 to the Steelers. It's going to be just nonsensical thing.
It will
It's
be.
going to be because it's also the late game on Sunday, and it's going to be one of those games at the end where you're just going to want to put your head through the fucking TV because it is so boring.
oh my God.
So, 8
And can I say,
8-6
Tomlin has
defensive
been in-
masterclass. That's what this will
Hey,
be.
Mike-
Stupidity.
Mike Tomlin has been in trade rumors with the Bears, and who the fuck wants to go there? So this is definitely going to be his game. He
Who-
wants to
what-
say-
Okay. If I was getting threatened with going to the Bears, I'd turn up 100%.
Who is
Exactly
it?
right.
Who is it that keeps throwing out all of these Bears are going to trade for a coach rumors? By the way, I don't want to get into that too much, but
Doug
it is
Peterson to the Bears.
it's just stupid. It's so dumb. Nobody's trading for Kevin
Right.
O'Connell. No one's trading for Mike
No.
Tomlin. Like, they're not leaving their clubs. Like, it's just.
I'd trade for
John
Kevin.
Payton.
Oh, good.
I would trade for Kevin O'Connell, but no one's going to. They're not. The Vikings aren't going to say yes to that.
No.
No.
Like, Kevin
No, yeah, so I've got
O'Connell's not
Nick-
going to say yes to anyway.
12-10. I've got Ian 8-6. They're the Pittsburgh side.
Yeah.
I've gone Bolt 36-16. Taylor's got a 27-9, which I love. Manjot and Brad, we haven't got you guys locked in. I need a score from you, Manjot.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I've got the Ravens big here. I'm like you, Matty. I've got them big. I got
You're
the
gonna start
Ravens
with four?
scoring 30.
Yeah.
I've got them scoring 30. It's going to be 33-17.
I picked him up more
Nice.
than you did.
Yeah. Taylor had him by 18. Manjot's got him by 16. I've got him by 20. Brad, where do you fall on the spectrum?
Well, I
Also,
definitely-
watch his
Teacher,
score.
you know about spectrums.
yeah, I'm definitely on the spectrum.
Oh no.
Is that not what you were asking? Sorry, I thought we were getting.
That was on a tee, and you walked up and you crushed that sucker 300. That's what you did.
That was a Happy Gilmore type shot. That one was.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You
Crushed
suck, jackass.
it. Anyway, Brad, what's your
This is the ball
score?
400 yards.
What's your score?
The price is right, bitch. All right.
Jackass.
I love how much time we've spent on Steelers Ravens.
Yeah.
Let's,
We got to move on. No, quickly. My score: 34-17 Steelers.
Wow.
Just kidding.
34
Just kidding. It's I'm saying Ravens.
No way.
34-17 Ravens.
oh man, if it turns up 34-17 to the Steelers,
It's going to take 3 months for the Steelers to score 34
are we
points,
giving
but-
Brad all points if it does end up 34-17 Steelers?
It's 34-17 Steelers. I'm just going
No.
to give him 6 points.
I'm changing. It's not Steelers.
Just
it's
let him win the whole thing.
So
Right.
pretty much, we as a group, we don't think the Ravens win a close game. It's either the Steelers win a close game, or we think the Ravens beat the shit out of them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
or
think that's
blowout.
I think that's the only way. I think that's the only
Yeah.
way. You do look at that, and fuck, I don't want to keep spending more time on this game. But you look at the last game where the Ravens did blow them out, and the big thing was Derrick Henry running for 160 yards. So as
Yeah.
soon as Nick was right, if they get Derrick Henry running,
Lamar
early,
running for 80 something and
yeah,
touchdown.
if they get
I
those two
actually-
running early, it's gone. The game is gone. It is out of the
I
Steelers'
actually
hands.
think-
They may as well just get in the sheds
They won't
and
be able to
fuck
stop
off
it.
home. So,
I
All
think
right.
Lamar's going to run for a lot of yards in this game.
all right,
Because the Steelers definitely defend the running back position pretty well. I actually think Lamar's going to get out and run
It's
himself.
Lamar that I'm worried about.
And they don't have a lot to pass to. You're right. Like Zay Flowers, I heard he's a chance of not even playing, and if he is,
Yep.
he's not 100%. So I actually think
And
Lamar.
Rashad Bateman don't scare you.
Well, he might for a long play, but I do think that Lamar's going to get out. and
Darnell
run.
Washington of Baltimore is what I've heard.
Just
All right,
about
Whatever the
eight-
fuck that means.
about
Hey, we
8
need
foot
to move
shorter.
on from Steelers Ravens.
Eight
For
foot
God's sake.
shorter than Darnell Washington.
We've got worse games to preview. All right, let's move on to Monday football. And Taylor, you're up with Denver at Bills.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for the lead in. Look, I'm going to do the wankery stuff and just sort of do a little bit of a matchup between positions first, and then sort of just talk about what I think that means. So, first, obviously, going quarterback Allen versus Knicks. Allen, 4,262 yards combined, 40 touchdowns and 6 picks. Knicks, 4,205 and 33 touchdowns and 12 picks, which, to be honest, I was surprised how close that was. Like, I was willing to just sit here and go, my God, this Josh Allen versus Knicks is not even close. But when you actually break down the stats, it's actually a lot closer than you probably would have thought, especially given how like ridiculously dominant Allen's been. He's going to be the MVP. He was an absolute fantasy stud, but Knicks honestly has been phenomenal. We'll go to running back. We've got James Cook at 1,267 all-purpose yards and 16 touchdowns. I didn't even write down Broncos running back stats. I've literally written down Broncos have a hodgepodge of arseholes, so I refuse to write down their stats. So I think I might give a slight lean at running back to the Bills here. Wide receiver, I've gone Shakir and Cooper. 824 yards for Shakir and 4 touchdowns, 547 between the two teams this year for Cooper and 4 touchdowns. I've gone with Sutton and Mims. Honestly, Mims weirdly has just become the wide receiver 2 for the Denver recently. He's definitely stepped up, even though he doesn't have a huge share on the field. He's still only getting 30% of snaps, but he seems to be getting like really, really high targets in the red zone and stuff like that. So between the two, Sutton had 1,081 yards and 8 touchdowns, and Mims had 503 yards and 6 touchdowns. I think I would actually lean the wide receiver room to Denver, to be honest. I haven't really trusted what's been going on at the wide receiver room for the Bills this year, so I would actually probably trust Sutton just in general a bit over the other two. Tight end, I've written down who gives a shit. Kincaid's been super disappointing, and I don't give a rat's ass Tuesday about anyone from Denver. And defense is where it's interesting, to be honest. The Bills, 21.6 points against them per game this year. They had a PFF finishing rank of 18. The Broncos gave up 18.3 points per game. They had a PFF finishing rank of here, first. The only team that ranked over 90 in PFF this year, 90.9. So I really think that's amazing. Delve into the stats. It made me actually rethink this game in terms of what I thought the margin was going to be. I still believe the Bills have an edge. I do believe, even though if you delve into the stats, that Knicks is a little bit closer to Allen than any of us probably realized. I think the fact that I don't trust a rookie quarterback on the road. I really think that's not really going to help them in this game. I really believe in Knicks moving forward, but in this first playoff game of his career, I think he's going to struggle against the MVP. And the fact is that the huge chasm at running back is massive. Like, you could basically give me, if you were going down and saying you're going to give 1 tick to each position, you can give 2 ticks to the running back position with Cook over these wankers at the fucking Broncos. And even though the wide receiver and tight end and defense sort of leans towards the Broncos, I don't think it's going to be enough. So at this point, I really do think the Buffalo at home and that cold weather with their fans fucking jumping through fucking tables and shit, I really do think that they're just going to be too much for this Denver team. I know Sean Payton's a very good coach, and he's going to try and scheme up something to turn this into what the Steelers are probably going to try and do against the Ravens and turn it into a lower scoring game. I know their defense is ranked 1 in PFF. I just don't think it's going to be enough against Allen because he's an absolute fucking freak. And I've definitely got the Bills winning this game, but by closer than I probably would have initially thought.
Yeah, I think we should ask here as well. Anyone on the Broncos? Anyone disagreeing with Tay? We just get like sort of the disagreement sort of going.
Well, you could disagree. If you think the Bills going to win by 30, then it probably is technically a disagreement.
I mean, yeah, I've got the Bills winning by quite a bit, to be fair. I mean, this is, as you said, they're going cold. They're going to Buffalo, and Buffalo's a pretty good home field advantage for the Bills. They've been really good in the postseason and really in that wildcard weekend as well. They've been really dominant the last few years. I mean, last year they just absolutely demolished the Steelers on wildcard weekend. They're used to playing sort of this 7th seed that just come into the playoffs sort of thing.
Yeah.
I
You
think
picked the
Bills...
score right in that game last year too, MANJOT.
Oh yes, I did, and the Super Bowl the year before. So I was on a two week in a row sort of heater.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the Bills, I think they're just going to be really strong here. And as you said, Taylor, like James Cook is 2 ticks ahead of any of those freaking running backs in Denver. I mean, I had a share of Javonte Williams in the Astro League, and that was fucking rough. So I have total compensation that I need to seek from the Broncos running back room there. So I've just got to say, with that advantage that James Cook has over them, it's going to come down to that in cold weather sort of football. If you have the running advantage, if you have the one of the best rushing QBs in the league as well with Allen, you're going to have a big day. And I think the Bills definitely have got that advantage. Denver, though, I do enjoy their run. I do like what they've done this season. And I think Bo Nix, I'm a Bo lever. As the Denver fans like to say, I love Bo Nix. So as much as I love him, I feel like they're going to fall short in this one.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a game where, unfortunately, you've noticed the last sort of month, particularly defensively with the Broncos, they've just really sort of struggled. They have had some guys out, but they gave up, I think, 32 or something to the Browns, and then obviously last week they played against Chiefs reserves. They had the overtime game against the Bengals, and then they gave up, I think, 4 or 5 touchdowns to the Chargers too. So I think it's probably going to be, they're at that point where they're sort of just falling apart and it's at the wrong time. But for a team that's really overachieved, like no one thought they'd be making the playoffs this year at all. No one even probably thought they'd get even close to double-digit wins, I think. But they've been able to do really well this year for the cattle that they've got. And I think most of that is due to, Sean Payne getting out the best of Bo Nix, but they've been really good on both sides of the trenches as well. Their offensive line has gone through the roof in terms of their improvement. Their defensive line has held pretty good. I agree. I think it's just going to be a game where I can see the first half, the weather sort of keeping the Broncos in it, and they probably go into halftime thinking, we're a big chance. But I just think there's just going to be just a run over in the last quarter at least, and probably where the Bills probably score a couple touchdowns late and then just break the game open. So in this game, if I had to go a score, I'd probably go 20-10 Bills in this one.
It's an interesting game, and I think what you said, Nick, is key. I think it's going to be weather and defense, and I think that's the way that the Broncos can stay in this game. I don't think they're going to win it. I think Buffalo, in my opinion, is the dark horse to win the AFC. Can you really be a dark horse at the number 2 seed? But I'm picking a close one on this. I just think that Broncos defense is too good, and they're going to keep it close. But I think it's going to be Bills 24, Broncos 21.
I think what people are forgetting here is that Bo Nix is not much less of a rushing quarterback than Josh Allen.
That's true.
And that over the course of a season, it's like 6 yards a game is the difference in their rushing. 6 yards. Josh Allen just happens to have 12 fucking touchdowns. I don't know that a season-long stat like that is going to make a massive amount of difference in a game where the defense is fine. And, people say, the weather. Denver are just not accustomed to cold weather. Like, what are we talking about here? They're fucking Colorado, where in the middle of summer, their hills still have fucking snow 60 fucking feet deep. I don't know. I was there last July and it was fucking 60 foot deep. I know. I fell over it a fucking ton of times. So I don't know that this narrative about weather and home field advantage matters against Denver in a weather situation. Okay, crowd and hostility. I'll give you that. Whatever. I don't know. The Broncos are kind of showing that they find ways to get offense done somehow. And I think they're going to be a bit of a pest. And because Bo Nix is a rookie. Yeah, okay, I've seen the rookie on the road against a higher seed last year when CJ Stroud went and got his fucking clock cleaned by Baltimore. Fine. I just don't know that that's as much of a problem. I don't know. I just don't know that Bo Nix plays with a heap of fear. And I think that's one of CJ Stroud's problems. And that I can just see this being one of those like, Buffalo win it. But it'll be like, I don't know, 21-19. And the Bills, they win it. But the Broncos just kind of never go away.
Yeah, I would agree with that. They're never going to go away.
Yeah. Like, they might not win it, but I don't know. Their defense is actually pretty good. The Bills' defense is probably not as good as people think it is. And Nick's is probably a better player than people think he is. So, I don't know. Do I think it's enough to win it? Well, probably not. I don't know. I would love to see Denver win this, though. Not because I have something against Buffalo, because what a story.
Yeah, the story would be fantastic. The problem I have with the thought process that the Bills are going to just blow Denver out here is that the Bills haven't blown anybody out all season. As good as they've been, they just haven't blown any teams out. I've been going back through the scores. There's only, I think, 2 or 3 games all season where they've won by more than 6 points. And like one of those was 35-10 against the 49ers and 34-10 against the Titans. Like these weren't great teams. 47-10 against the Jags. They're not great teams.
They beat the Jags. Do we remember that?
Yeah. But I'm saying that their big wins have been against teams that we now know weren't great this season. And all the other wins were very, very close. 2, 3, 4 points, etc. And if you go right back to last season in the wildcard round and divisional round, they also didn't blow out teams then in cold weather. I mean, they managed to score 24 points against the Chiefs in probably the coldest game in history. And they still lost to the Chiefs. So I still think the Bills will win. I don't think it's going to be a massive blowout. I'm sort of leaning more like 27-24.
All right, cool.
All right, so scores I haven't got. I haven't got a Taylor or a Manjot score in this one, but I've got Brad 24-21, Nick 20-10, and I've got 21-19. Sorry, Ian, can I get yours again?
He said 27-21, I believe.
Yeah, 27-24 to the Bills.
24, yeah. Okay, so it's just Taylor and Manjot coming with scores, but this is it's a 6-0.
23-17 Bills.
What nice.
Yeah, I'm
And
going
Manjot?
24-14 to the Bills.
Piece of cake. That's the AFC.
That
Done.
is the AFC. We move on to the NFC games, and Manjot gets the pleasure of previewing two trash franchises, the Packers and his most hated franchise, the Eagles.
Yes, the two franchises that honestly, like, I feel like I can put in my most hated list there, Ian. You are correct, but
I know they
I will
are.
give
We've
a fair-
been over this.
Yeah, I can give a fair preview though. And look, for this game, bit of question marks about both quarterbacks coming in. They both had injury scares and injuries during the last couple of weeks of the season, but looks like they're both going to go ahead and go into this game in as starting quarterbacks. So we've seen a bit of backup play from both teams at quarterback as well. So starting off with some basic stats, got the Eagles, number 8 scoring offense, number 1 defense, 29th in passing and 2nd in rushing, led by the number 1 running back in the entire NFL this season, Saquon Barkley. Whereas for the Packers, 5th offense, 5th in defense, 5th in rushing, and 12th in passing. So pretty consistent 5th there for the Packers. Now the question is, are the Packers really as good as they've looked across the whole season? I would argue they don't look as good as their record has seemed this season. I mean, I've said it many times to the boys in our group chats and stuff that, yeah, I just don't believe in this Packers team at all, really, with the way Jordan Love, I haven't seen that leap that everyone's been expecting from him this season. Their wide receivers haven't made big leaps and bounds. The addition of Josh Jacobs has been great for them all season, but I feel like as well, you're going up in Philly, you've got to have a big Josh Jacobs game from them, and you got to have the defense really turn up and play out of their skin to really do something against the Eagles. As we've seen both teams, it's just really interesting. Yeah, as I said at the start, the quarterback situation as well. The Eagles, we don't know. Jalen Hurts, he has missed the last couple of games, so he's coming into this 23, 24 days after his last game. So that could be a big factor, a bit of rust for him potentially. So that could work a little bit in the Packers' favor here as well. So the Eagles, though, they're a really strong team across the board. As I said, number 1 defense as shown in the NFL.com rankings and everything. So with the way they've really gone about it this season, they've really built through the young guys and really replaced some of the guys that have been at the forefront of their franchise, such as Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox and those sort of guys who have just really retired, and then they brought in these new young guys and they've been really playing out of their skin. And I feel like with the way that the Philadelphia Eagles have been built, with the youthful exuberance of some of their great defensive guys and the way their offense have just gone rushing the ball with a great running quarterback in Jalen Hurts, and of course Saquon Barkley, best running back in the NFL, as I said. It's just going to be a lot for the Packers to stop. And for a team that I've not been convinced in at all this whole season, I feel like they're going to fall short here against the Eagles. And I think the Eagles, with that home field advantage, they'll just absolutely go ham. So I'm happy to hear you guys talk about this as well. Of course, it's going to be interesting. I'm wondering if anyone will disagree with that assessment.
I think it's going to be it's going to come down to the trenches and who's going to control the line of scrimmage. And I'm giving the Eagles the edge in this. And we can't underestimate how much of a factor health plays into teams. Just ask Detroit in terms of they've been decimated by injuries, but they've still managed to win, granted. But Philadelphia on the other side of the coin is virtually unscathed outside of Hurts. So I think they're starting the same 21 starters they predominantly have started all season. So they are healthy going into this game, and Green Bay is struggling a little bit in their health. They got a lot of players dinged up in the trenches, and I just think the way their defensive line is playing Philly, they're going to be able to control the ball, control that line of scrimmage, which Green Bay relies so much on the run game right now. And generally that would favor a little bit towards a playoff matchup. You run well. That's going to be in their favor. But the Eagles, Carter has been playing so dominant lately. I'm giving the edge to the Eagles in this matchup just because of the trenches.
Can I have permission to say something that's going to sound really stupid?
Yeah.
Join the club.
I think the Packers are going to miss Christian Watson. And honestly, I know that's really stupid because he goes missing all the time and he's injured all the time, blah, blah, blah. But I really feel like
half the season.
I think the Packers are going to miss a field stretcher. I really do. I really think they're going to need it. They're going to need big plays in this game. I don't think they're going to be able to rely on dink and dunks from Josh Jacobs. Isn't going to be able to dominate on the ground like he has in a lot of matchups against this Eagles defensive line. It's not going to be all through Josh Jacobs, and it's not going to be Jaden Reed fucking catching these tiny little dump offs and trying to run it against this Eagles defense. They needed a field stretcher in this game. I think that the quarterbacks were going to be huge in this game. I think we needed to see something out of Jordan Love against, obviously, Jalen Hurts. I feel like this is the battle of the guys that have been promising a lot for years. I know Jalen Hurts has made a Super Bowl, so he's probably a bit more pedigree than Jordan Love right now. But these are the kind of guys that need to show – they need to turn themselves into a guy that are going to take their team to a Super Bowl and win one. And Jordan Love really has had the decent run last year, but he needs to prove it this year in this game. And I'm worried against this Eagles defense. I just don't think it comes. I think they've been relying on Jacobs for a long, long time. And I know it's the regular season compared to playoffs, but sometimes you get stuck in your ways. And I really feel like they're going to come into this game expecting Josh Jacobs to give them this massive game. And I don't think it's going to happen against this Eagles defensive line. They are awesome at stopping the run. Like our Brad brought up, in the trenches, they are so good in the offensive line. Like, I think Saquon's going to be able to run all over this Packers team. And I don't even know if Jalen Hurts is going to have to do much, whereas I think Jordan Love is going to be forced into doing a lot. And without a field stretcher, I don't think he's going to get it done. So I'm actually all over the Eagles. I think they win by 10 plus.
Yeah. And I feel like as well, with Jordan Love as well, I do like that assessment there, Taylor. I feel like when I said that Jacobs would be like a big factor, I feel like he has to do something early. He has
That's
to.
That's my problem. I don't think he is, and they need him to. Like, they're going to force feed him, and I'm not saying he can't do it, but I'm very wary of him doing against this team. It's not a good matchup for a running back against this Eagles team. They have destroyed running backs all year.
The only thing I will say about this is the Packers have been in this situation before. You guys may remember last year who had the number 2 seed? The Cowboys. Undefeated.
I don't remember.
Undefeated at home, and the Packers just came in and just opened up a can on them. So that's the one thing I would give in the Packers' favor.
Matty, I'm surprised you own a Cowboys jersey.
It's a player I invented on Madden years ago. I actually got my player's name on the back as well. This is an invented player.
I love that it's a Cowboys.
I've never been a guy named Dixon wear 25 for the Cowboys, except for when I played Madden 2007. So there you go.
I absolutely love that. Okay.
All right. So, yeah. Anyway.
Well, these two teams obviously met in week 1 this season, and it was a pretty close game in
Sao
Paulo, Brazil. And
the worst field in history, I'm told.
Yes, yeah. Well, it was a soccer field, so yes. And like both teams had pretty close wins, I guess, through the early part of both their seasons, their respective seasons. But the thing that stands out is, as we got through the later part of the season, is that the Packers continued to have close games, but they lost close games. And the Eagles, on the other hand, were starting to blow out teams and get better and better and better. And as you guys have said already, the thing we didn't see from them was injuries. They didn't have massive injury tolls like a lot of these other teams, especially some of these playoff teams have had. And the standout, as we all know, as everybody in the league knows, is Saquon. And he was the biggest threat that the Eagles could possibly produce. The guy was an absolute freak this season. And I can see the Packers trying to compete, and maybe early on they might compete, but as that game goes further and further, I think the Eagles are just going to outlast them and blow them out. I think they're just going to be too quick for them. And I hate to say that because this thing with the Eagles, I love some of their players, but I hate that franchise.
Yes,
but,
there it is.
So, but
Nick
I still think that they're going to win. I still think they're going to win this game. Matty, I'll go with a score 33-17 to the Eagles.
Wow, that's a smashing.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I think Saquon's going to show everybody that he could have got those last yards to break that record. And I think he'll be over 200 in this game if the Packers aren't careful.
This is the gift that keeps on giving. Manjot said a whole bunch of nice things about the Eagles. Hasn't given me a score yet, but that's okay. But now, Nick, are you going to say something nice about the Packers or the Eagles? Because both are going to be fucking difficult for you.
I've been thinking about this game all week. This has probably been the hardest game for me to pick.
You're so tortured. This is like the moment where Bambi's mum dies in the movie, and you're like, "Oh, this movie's fucked." As a podcast, Nick, Brad, and myself this season, it hasn't been a great thing discussing any Eagles games because obviously Brad is against them in a division, so he's just like, "Fuck the Cowboys, fuck the Eagles, fuck everybody." I love it's just how it is in the East. And Nick is just. It's obviously that NFC rivalry with the 49ers and the hatred of the Eagles. And me, I just hate their trash fan base, who no matter how much they try and bring up things that tell me we say nice things about them.
Wikipedia is wrong. They definitely threw batteries at Santa. So it's just...
Those are funny debates.
Anyway, Nick, the floor is yours, mate.
I must say, though, with this game, the one thing that is pulling me in the direction of the Packers, though, is even though it's only been 2 games for him, only 2 games, he had 2 pretty good games in the playoffs, Jordan Love. Now, I know he's got a bit of a wrist thing going on, but I don't think it'll be too much of a concern. They pulled him early. I think it was a precaution. I really don't know how the Eagles are going to look in the pass game because Jalen Hurts is still dealing with some stuff. He hasn't played in a while, like I think Manjot had said.
Yep.
I'm not sure what they look like. Is there going to be some pressure is Nick Sirianni going to go, okay, let's feed the ball to AJ Brown? Or are they going to go, okay, let's run the ball? Now, they should be running the ball. If they run the ball and, Saquon has 120 yards on the ground, they win this game. But I think it's going to be something where coaching is going to play a big part. Now, Matt LaFleur in the playoffs, when he plays us, he always loses. But everyone else, not too bad against. The only other team he's lost to apart from us in the playoffs was Tampa, and that was when Tom Brady was playing. That's quite some time ago.
I can't wait till they play the 49ers in the playoffs this year, too. It's going to be so good.
Yeah, that's all good. That's all right. They'll be with us soon. Don't worry. Their time will come. But for this game, I am actually going to go with an overtime upset.
Whoa!
The Packers take it out. And they will be taking on the Lions the week after.
Fucking love this guy.
So,
where do we find Nick? Where do we find this guy?
I really didn't.
I think coaching is a big thing. It's going to be a big thing in this game, and I don't trust Nick Sirianni in these big moments. I get that he's been to a Super Bowl before. I'm not sure. They've had this stuff going on all season. He's going after, Jalen Carter. He was going after the fans. AJ Brown's got his own thing. What's happening with Jalen Hurts. Saquon Barkley, I'm interested to see. You'll really find this week, was it Saquon Barkley's decision not to play or was it Nick Sirianni's decision not to play from last week? Yeah. I've got a feeling somewhere deep down, Saquon would have gone, it's the Giants, could have showed them, what I don't think it's missing.
I think it's right on the surface, Nick.
So I think there's a lot of, it just feels like the Eagles might be coming to this game a little bit disconnected as opposed to more so of like a team sort of thing going into it. There's a lot of noise. When there's a lot of noise, trust me, as a Niners fan this year, when there's a lot of noise, it's not good news. It could be bad news Monday.
Matty, I love
the Eagles.
that somehow I managed on G'day Gridiron to find another 49ers fan who not only hates the Eagles, but is not afraid at all to show his hatred of the Eagles and to just totally pick against them when all logic defies that. Like, it's just... Him and MANJOT, it's just...
It's like, I can't even bring myself to pick the Eagles when they're going to win by 150. I just love Nick. Mate,
I'm
next time
with
I'm Adelaide,
him.
I'm going to buy you whatever the fuck beers you drink over there. Whatever the Mexican cheese drink is. I'm just going to buy you a carload.
There is a chasm in coaching here. Like, LaFleur is a far better coach than Sirianni. I don't think it's even close. The problem for me...
I don't think Sirianni coaches that team.
No, that's the thing is, like,
Yeah.
I bring that into effect when I think it's a one-score game. I don't think this is that's the thing for me is I just think this is a game where the Eagles are going to lead, and I just think they're going to win by 10. That's why I don't think the coaching is going to matter as much in this specific game. But I'm with you. Like, when you're looking and you think it's going to be a close game, I would always go with coaching, because when you actually look at all the teams that made the playoffs, almost all of them had really, really good coaching this year. I know Sirianni's completely outlier, but most of the teams that made the playoffs this year actually had really good coaching. So I'm with you that if you wanted to think that this was a close game, that would be a good thing to go with. I just think that the Eagles, this isn't the game to go with the coaching. I think Sirianni's going to get shown up later in the playoffs, but this is the one that I just think they have too many horses, and I just don't. It's more about me just not trusting the Packers more than liking the Eagles right now. I really think I've got issues with Love. I just don't know what they're going to do in the passing game. I think they're relying on Jacobs too much, and I just don't think he's going to get it done against this Eagles D line.
Well, one team's 4-3 in their last 7. The other team hasn't lost a game since week 4. And I'm saying they haven't lost a game since week 4 because the one they lost was to the Commanders in Washington with Kenny fucking Pickett. That doesn't count. Doesn't count.
Get me fucking started on having Hurts in multiple fucking fantasy playoffs. But anyway,
if I told you that one team hadn't lost since week 4, and okay, so they've lost a game in week 4, and it was a kick at the death against their shitty backup, who no one will ever start ever again, and the other team's 500 since their bye. You go, oh well, the team who's fucking never lost. And then you go, oh, but that team is also at home. Oh, well, okay, even more so, the team who hasn't fucking lost. So I don't think this is really difficult. And I took the Eagles 31-13. Kick him in the teeth.
Awesome. Who else do we need scores from, Matty?
Yeah, I'm 23-13 Eagles. I don't think
3-13?
I think it's a low-scoring game, and I just think the Eagles lead throughout.
We haven't got one from MANJOT. Brad, and then we definitely need one from Nick, but we need to have him last.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I totally agree with Taylor. Can't trust him that much there with the Packers. So I'm going with Eagles, big win here, 35 points against 16.
Love it. 35-16. That's a big margin. Bradley?
I'm going Eagles 38, Packers 17.
Oh, biggest score of the week. Love it. Nick? Oh, mate. If Ian doesn't have a drum roll before this, I'm going to punch him in the throat next time I see him.
There's pressure now. We're going to have to note things down now, Matty. It's
going to be so good. It's going to be so good. You've gone against the grain with the Steelers, and Ian joined you. You've gone against the grain here, and I don't know. There's a fucking part of me that cheers for you now. So I just hope the score's here. If you're going to get us, I hope you just nail the double bunger.
I did say I was going to go to OT, so yeah. I reckon the long shot prediction, but the Packers will get the ball first, and that'll be it. The Eagles won't get it again, so I reckon 33-27.
Oh,
no! 60 points.
Hey, Nick, there is an incorrection. Is playoff overtime rules, and both teams get guaranteed possession. Right. I think as
so I get it again, and they won't get it. That's it.
Kyle Shanahan taught you, Miro. Kyle Shanahan taught you now. I understand.
Yeah, that's right.
So that makes it 34-27 because you think they'd go for the 1-pointer?
Yeah, we'll go. All right, 34-27.
Because like at 33, you're saying, okay, the game ends like it does in regulation overtime, like regular season overtime. This is not regular season overtime, so they have an extra point or a 2 point to consider.
Yeah.
Do you think they consider a 2-pointer here, or they're just going to kick it one?
Nah, they'll just kick the one. 34-27.
Nick's
Yeah, I mean, it
Nick's
matters.
gonna either look like a fucking genius or an absolute fucking sack of shit at the end of this week. It's gonna be amazing.
No middle. No middle. Love it. All right, so you know you got your boy Matty C with only the Commanders and Tampa. This is a great game. Of all the games this week, the Texans Chargers was a 2.5-ish kind of line. This is the same, and the Commanders get the 2.5 on the road to Tampa. Commanders, I don't know, you look at their record; they're a far better team through the regular season. They go and win 12 games. Tampa, they win the division, and they do it with a 10-win record, and they get the 3rd seed with a 10-win record, which you'd think, yeah, that ain't so great. I want to change your mind. I think there's a lot of people who would just immediately look at that and go, oh, well, you know, Washington has got all the points. It looked pretty exciting. And I don't know, has any team who's won a division 5 times in a row just kind of looked like a basic sack of shit? Because Tampa have won this division a 5th year in a row now. People say this is a shit fight of a division, but you really can't take away. This is a team who are consistently better than everybody around them, and they're worthy playoff team. They just are. And if you don't agree with that, I'd love to hear the argument, because I just don't know that you can argue against it. That said, the 3rd seed, they get to host the game, and I think that matters a lot here. Tampa score more points this season than Washington. They conceded less points than Washington. So it's not just one, it's both. And over time, point differential actually it shows up to be quite predictive about how teams perform, not just season long, but also then head to head when you come into an elimination spot. Tampa Bay are 3rd in the league for passing offense. And I think that matters because they're 2nd in passing touchdowns. They're 2nd in completion percentage. Who would have ever thought that of Baker Mayfield, who had Odell Beckham Jr.'s dad making tapes about how he sails him. And then they're also 2nd in pass attempts to touchdown ratio. Who would have thought that? You know, the amount of passing attempts divided by how many touchdowns in the passing game. No team in the current playoff bracket either has more points against them than Washington. And when they've given away more rushing yards against than every other team in the playoffs too, it's kind of, you know, these are danger signs for a team who all of a sudden they're great, they're glitzy, they're 12-5. And I think, gee, if you just took away their record and you looked at some of these things, you go, maybe I shouldn't be so enamored with them. I don't want to dispel Washington, though, because on the other hand, they're no slouches. They're 5th in scoring, 7th in yards. They can run the ball. They're 3rd in rushing yards. And that's what helps make you a 12-win team, right? You're ahead in games. You're rushing the ball. You're strong. You keep possession. The problem is their passing game has not been great. They've only got one target out there, Terry McLaurin, who, considering he's the only target out there, only had 1,100 yards this year. But it's really rushing where Washington gets it done. And their leading rusher is also their leading passer. And that bothers me for playoff football. Like, it's been great when Lamar Jackson has done these things, but then it's kind of shown up, oh, the guy needs to do too much. I think the Bills have a similar problem with how, you know, Josh Allen is asked to do so much in the rushing game as well. And I think that's going to be a problem for Washington here because it's not necessarily a sustainable business model when it comes down to playing the pointier teams. And we know that Washington don't have a great record against teams above 500. Everybody in playoffs has got a record above 500. And to have your whole offense run through one guy who's rushing more than everybody else in your team and is your passing leader, it makes me feel like it's more high school Pop Warner than it is, you know, proper NFL. This is going to win you games, billion-dollar franchises, head-to-head, loser leaves the island. These teams also met in week 1, much like the Packers and Philadelphia game we were talking about before, and Tampa won by a country mile, 3 scores. And directly after that, Washington did go on a 4-game streak, right? They defeated incredible teams of unbelievable pedigree. The New York Giants, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Arizona Cardinals, the Cleveland Browns. But then they came up against a great team, Baltimore, and they were lost by a score, but it wasn't that close in the game. They then turned that around and went on a 3-win streak again, like against Carolina, against the Giants again, and against the Bears. So, you know, like a lot of this racking up wins, you're doing against 4-win teams, the teams who turn out to be 3, 4, 5-win teams. The common thread, though, is that's 3 teams with winning records that they've lost to. They lost to Pittsburgh, they lost to Baltimore, they lost to Tampa Bay. They've all got winning records. They can play football. They can even spell the word football, which is better than half the teams we mentioned that they beat. They got 7 of their wins against teams mainly populated by pretty much drunk fucking toddlers. And up until only 2 weeks ago, Detroit had suffered 1 loss all year to the hands of Tampa. Even now, that is half of Detroit's losses on the year. On a neutral field, this is probably Tampa's game. In Tampa, I think this could get ugly, and I'm taking Tampa running away. But I know I'm probably not in unanimous territory here, and there's going to be people who have dissenting opinions. Does someone who has a dissenting opinion want to jump in and clobber me?
I don't know about
Does nobody have a dissenting opinion? I love it.
Oh,
descending.
I'm on the fence.
Who's going to take Washington? No one's taking Washington?
I'm on the fence with this one. I've just got to say.
All right, Splinters,
you're the closest.
set it up there.
You tell me why I'm wrong, public defender.
I think, look, man, I see something in this Jaden kid. I've seen something in him like every single week. If it comes down to clutch, comes down to crunch time, this guy's freaking cracking jokes at Jalen Carter at the freaking line of scrimmage. Like, this is a guy you're meant to be fearing, and this guy's just cracking jokes with him. I don't know, Jaden Daniels, man, he's just such a cool kid. He's just, you know, incredibly, he just does well in the clutch. He's just incredible this whole season. I know against weak teams, yes, I do agree. There were some weak teams like Chicago when they got the Hail Mary and everything, but he just finds a way to win. It's just incredible what
not against good teams.
Yeah, but not against good teams. And that's the concern, of course. Against Tampa in week 1, that was also one of the points I really looked at in this game was just, Tampa handing him his first loss in his first game of his career. And then he just, as you said, Matty, went on that run. But with Jaden, I think the time is still too early. I still do agree Tampa is going to win, but I think it's going to be closer than what you said, Matty. So that's the only dissent I have.
Okay.
The problem for me, it kind of goes back to what I brought up with Russ trying to take advantage of the bad Ravens secondary. Is I think the biggest issue for Tampa is their secondary, but I don't think a rookie coming in his first ever playoff game is going to be the one that takes advantage of that. I can see that happening later. I agree with MANJOT. I think Jaden Daniels is so legit, and I think he's going to have his time. I look at the stats of rookie quarterbacks in their first playoff game, and it's so bad. And I know Nicks and him are different. Like, this isn't just your, everyday rookie. But at the same time, it is just such a big moment for these guys going on the road and proving it. And the problem is they're both in situations where they have to. They don't have running backs where they can just lean on to win them their games. Like, Denver obviously has an absolute asshole sandwich of a stable, like, at running back to try and do something. So Nicks has to. And then you look at, obviously, the Washington Commanders. And I brought this up with you, Matty, in the fantasy show earlier.
Is it about the bullet?
And the problem is, like, Tampa early in the year were coming up as like 24th or 25th against running back in fantasy. And I said to you, I'm telling you right now, that is fool's gold, because there was multiple games that Vita Vea didn't play. And as soon as Vita Vea plays, no one can run on this team. And now all of a sudden, if you look at it, they're like 4th or 5th fourth or 5th best
He's
against
like the
running back position.
But you have to go off tackle just to get around just him because he's huge.
Yeah, he's fucking. I said he's planet sized. He's a fucking planet. Like, you cannot go around that guy. He is so big. He's like the fucking John Olomu of like an NFL defensive line. You cannot get around that guy. And the fact is that so Washington can't rely on their running game. It's going to have to be all Jaden. I know Vita Vea is probably better against running backs than he is against a quarterback in terms of running because he's obviously not agile.
Yeah.
But it's saying that I just don't think that, like, if they're relying on Jaden Daniels winning the game with his legs, they're already behind. So I just think that Tampa's in a situation where their one weakness of their secondary, I don't think is going to get completely exploited in this game with Jaden Daniels in his first ever game as a rookie in the playoffs.
17th in passing.
Yeah, I just don't see it. This is another game that I actually think is not going to be high scoring. I really think a lot of these games are going to be lower on the lower scoring side of it. And I know this looks like it's probably the closest game to pick, but I've got a pretty solid lean to Tampa. I don't probably see it as like as high as I sort of brought up Philly and Green Bay, but I can see them winning by a solid touchdown, and I think it's going to be on the lower scoring side.
Okay. Oh, come on, Brad. What do you got there?
Hey, this is I've gone back and forth on this game over and over and over, and I just, as much as I want to count the Commanders out, I keep coming back to them and just Jaden Daniels. I get what everybody's saying about the rookie quarterback thing, but he has shown so much poise this season. It's just been unreal, and the way Dan Quinn has him playing. It's just, to me, it feels a little bit special. Whereas Tampa Bay, I don't get that feeling. So in one sense, I feel like it's a 50-50. It's both teams. You could make a case for either team. I'm going a little bit with coaching and momentum. I feel like Washington has a little bit more momentum. I feel like Dan Quinn has them playing for each other, which you can't underestimate the power of that. And especially in the pros, when some of the guys are just collecting paychecks. Now, come playoff time, it's a little bit different story. But this Washington team seems to really love each other and is really going for it. So I'm actually taking the Commanders in this just because. Washington, or just because Tampa Bay struggles against really good quarterbacks, and so I'm taking the Commanders in a close one.
Can I just touch on that quickly, Brad? I was doing some looking into data, and it's crazy how much Dan Quinn has actually turned that defense around as the years gone on. They were horrendous in the first 3-4 weeks, and it was this is the most easily the team you want to target in terms of their defense. Basically anyone was just torching them. But if you actually looked at it, that again, I don't want to be a fantasy based guy, but I was just looking at some of the stats around that because it has a lot of correlation to real life NFL in terms of yardage and just really defending the running backs and the wide receivers. But they were basically in the bottom 5 against both those positions in fantasy, and they ended up basically in the top half of the league in both positions. So Dan Quinn turned that defense around. So that's why I do think Tampa wins, but I don't think it is a dominant win, and I don't think it's high scoring because I don't think that this Washington defense is going to lie down. I think they're actually going to keep them in this game. My worry is that I love Jaden Daniels. I'm just worried about him in this first initial game, and I just don't think they're going to be able to rely on a run game. He's going to have to absolutely ball out to win this game, and I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just going with the stats in terms of rookie quarterbacks and stuff, saying that it's a very big ask for a guy like that to win the game on his back alone.
I get that. Yeah, no, it's a fair point. Yeah.
I'm a bit like Manjot. I really want to go with Washington. I don't think the rookie QB in this case is a big thing. Jaden Daniels played at LSU. He's played in SEC championship games. He's played in college football playoff games. It's not like he played at a smaller college. This is a guy that's he was a Heisman Trophy winner. The guy knows how to play on big teams. So I don't think that's going to be so much of an issue. I think Washington defensively, though, I get we were saying before, Taylor, about how they've improved, but I just think in the run game, this is actually something that Tampa can go to if they can get that score early. I think this is going to be a massive Mike Evans game. I think I could see definitely what they did last year in Detroit, similar to a game like that. It was just an absolute masterclass from him, but I think it could be something a little bit similar to that. And Baker Mayfield, his statistics in the playoffs, he averages, just under 290 yards per game passing, 10 touchdowns and 3 interceptions in 4 games. So it's not too bad. And last year was pretty good. They were very close to that Detroit team. They lost by a touchdown, but that could have been a game where they could have been sitting in the NFC Championship game. And it was similar to how they were this year, where it's like, should they really be there? They're not that good. I feel like they've improved a little bit this year, and I think the biggest part of that has been because of their rushing game. Their rushing game for so long has been like bottom 3, bottom 5 in the league. This year, it's gone way through the roof, and they've got something with Irving taking some snaps, and then Rashad White taking some snaps. So I think that helps take some bit of workload off of Baker Mayfield. But I think this is going to be a game where Daniels is going to show up. I think he will show up, but I think at the end of the day, it's just going to be the Bucks who are going to get over the top. And I think in this game, I'd probably say, if I had to go a score, probably 34-26 in favor of the Bucks.
Yeah, I'm also a bit more on the high scoring end there as well with you, Nick. So I reckon it's going to be Buccaneers 27-24.
Anyone that has listened to any amount of G'day Gridiron this season will know that I have a very big soft spot for Baker Mayfield and the Bucks. So you boys have said some amazing stuff in there. I don't need to repeat any of it. I think it is going to be an overtime win for the Bucks, 34-28, walk-off touchdown.
Ooh, yeah. There we go, some OTs.
So walk-off touchdown means that you think
I think
Commanders
that
get the ball first, they don't score, and
Correct.
then these guys just bomb it. They don't even get close enough for a field goal. They just bomb it because
Correct.
you don't need to score the touchdown if the other team has had possession and not scored.
Yep.
It's going to be like a 70-yarder.
Yeah, I don't even think 70-yarder. I think you'll end up with like
Can't be a 30-yarder because
like
you kick the field goal.
No, it'd be like a coverage breakdown kind of thing. Like you'll have like that whole Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson moments we've seen with the Vikings this season, where all of a sudden there's just no defensive backs around them and they're in open space, and it'll be someone ridiculous. Probably be Mike Evans, to be honest, but yeah. So
All right, MANJOT 27-24, Ian 34-28, Nick 34-26, Brad. Taylor?
I'm going 27-24 Commanders.
Commanders. We do have a dissenting opinion. Love it. Love it. I hope you get the score right. But the guys who go against the grain, I just hope not only to get it, but I hope you also get the score right. I love it.
I was this close to going with Brad. He almost convinced me. I do love that Jaden kid, though.
All right, Tay. Your last one to lock in before I quickly throw mine in.
Yeah, I'm firmly on a far lower scoring game than everyone else has picked. I've got 20-17 for the Bucks.
Woo. And I just kind of think the Bucks get the score, and I don't think the Commanders go away as such, but I don't think it's as close as a 27-19 scoreline says. I just kind of think the rookie looks like a rookie away from home and needs his mum. So that's it. Ian, that is a 1-5. Oh, Brad out on a limb and the rest of us against him. Fuck, I hope you win that one, Brad. All the tortured poet society on this one, mate. You and Taylor Swift together. I can't wait to see what you do with this game because the line between the Vikings at the Rams, can you believe you're a road favorite? No pressure.
doesn't bode well. No pressure at all. Vikings going back to SoFi for the second time this season. Let me give you a few. I don't need to set this up too much, but the thing I do want to talk about is the overall records and history between these two teams. These teams seem to face each other once every 3 years, it seems, and it just seems to go around that. The last 3 times that these two teams have faced each other, the Rams have won, 2018, 2021, and 2024. And the difference in all of those games has been one man, and that is Sean McVay. He is the absolute master. He is the top of the tree. He has a tree named after him, a coaching tree named after him. He was the youngest head coach in NFL history. He was the youngest head coach to reach a Super Bowl, the youngest coach to win a Super Bowl. And after all that, to be in the echelons of a Shanahan or a Belichick or some of the other greats where they
Tree.
have a coaching tree named after them, or different sort of coaching things. We hear things like the Sean McVay effect, where teams started being more inclined to hire younger, offensive-minded head coaches. He's such a great coach, and he is the absolute pinnacle of this. And obviously, Kevin O'Connell is someone who has come from that Sean McVay coaching tree, a little bit indirectly, but definitely directly. I think there's the big difference over those three. But in all of history, between any of the games that these two teams have played against each other, very rarely, and I think it's only once in all of the history that I can go right back through to find into the early 80s, have these two teams played against each other twice in a season. And records were meant to be broken. And I think, obviously, as a Vikings fan, I think the Vikings are going to go into this game much better off and have a much better idea of the Rams. And it may be time to change that very recent history. The big thing that was the difference in the previous game, of course, the Rams won that 30-20 earlier this season in SoFi as well. Puka Nacua came back for that game, and it has been reported that, very strongly reported, that the Vikings didn't actually know Puka Nacua was in for that game until the day before the game. So they had to actually, Brian Flores has admitted he had to rush around because he hadn't game planned for Puka Nacua to be part of that team and figure out some kind of game plan. Puka Nacua was...
They did announce it late.
Yeah, it was very late, and they had to rush around and try and figure out how to combat that Nacua effect as it has been now. And Puka came back with 106 yards. I think that was also one of the first or the second game that Cooper Kupp was back as well. So that all sort of changed in that game, and it changed the Rams' fortunes from that point onwards as well. So this, I think, will be very different. The Vikings know they're going to come up against Puka Nacua and in some way Cooper Kupp. The Rams, though, are out players. I don't know. I can't remember. What's the status of Kyron Williams these days? I can't remember, but I know Blake Corum is definitely out. He's gone on to IR. So there's no backup there either. And yeah, I'm a Vikings fan. I have to go Vikings. I've said that from early in the season when I picked against them, and I don't know why I did it, and I kept going. And every time we've done it now, I've gone Vikings. That's obvious. I'm going to go Vikings. But this is shaping up to be an interesting game. It is at SoFi. We are in the middle of a massive wildfire in California right now, and there is talk that the backup...
Way out in the Palisades, mate. It's a different state out there. It's not.
It is, but it is very affected by smoke, apparently. And SoFi isn't a complete dome. So the backup plan is moving this game to Arizona, it seems. So
That's not the Coliseum, mate. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So
the Coliseum, that might be something.
What do you guys feel? I don't like having to preview my own team, and I've only had to do this a couple of times this season.
It's so uncomfortable.
I hate doing it. I really hate talking about it. It's kind of the it's not a jinx, like a reverse jinx thing like MANJOT gets into, but I just don't like having to talk about my team too much prior to a game.
I thought you were going to for a sec there. You were angling like you were going to reverse jinx it, and I was about to go, it's the MANJOT Melly.
No, I just feel that the danger for the Vikings is, and any other team that comes up against the Rams is always Sean McVay. It's always how he schemes an offense and how he plays, because the guy is just an absolute genius. But how do you guys feel?
Right, Matty. I only tip against the Titans because I'm reverse jinxing them. It's not because I think they're shit house.
Yeah. Turns out you've won a lot of money this year betting against them, mate. So, yeah, happy days.
I'm building 5 houses.
100%. I really want to hear what Nick thinks about this one, because I know it's not like you're a Rams lover, right?
I'm very much in the purple and gold this week, put it that way. Yeah. I mean, I usually am when I watch the NBA, but in this case, it's applicable for the NFL. This is a match where I think it's going to be a complete shootout. I don't think it's going to have much defense in it at all. I think it's going to be one of those games. It's a complete shootout. The Rams have been in a couple of those sort of this year, particularly against the Bills earlier in the year, which was that was an insane game. The more I think about it, I think there is a mismatch on both sides. So I think both secondaries probably aren't going to be able to handle both sets of receivers. Although I think, Puka's going to get a whole lot more than, JJ will obviously get his touches. He'll have a bunch of yards, but, you've got Addison as well. And then, Hawkinson might feature a bit. They might use a bit of Aaron Jones out of the backfield. To me, it's very much a nitpicking game. If it is in SoFi, even though that would probably be a stadium filled 60% with Vikings fans, I'd still probably give that edge to the Rams. But there's just something about this game where you get to the stage, it's just feel like nitpicking a bit. I think, and we spoke about this on Gridiron not too long ago, particularly the lead up to last week's game, and we said the loser of that Vikings-Lions game is just going to be absolutely feel like depleted. It's just like you got to 14-3. Everything was riding on that last game, and everyone knew it for about the last month of the regular season. And it's just the way that they came out. And I get with those sort of games, when you get blown out, it can really spur you on and try and get back on track. I just think when you come into that game and the expectations were quite high, it just really depletes you, because now you think, oh, fuck, we're going to go again. And then you go straight into a wild card game, which really is now a do or die game. It's like they've almost already played, a playoff game already. And essentially they almost did with Green Bay the week before, because if they hadn't lost that, then they would have not been in that spot the last week, that Sunday night game. So I think the Rams, a little bit fresher. I do like Kevin O'Connell. I trust Sean McVay a little bit more just because of the experience in the playoffs. Matthew Stafford, isn't what he used to be, but I think he's still someone that can come up in flashes. So I think this could be a game where had a bit of a rest, they've freshened up. Cooper Kupp as well. We haven't seen much of him. He's been so much of a blocking receiver this year because they haven't found a way to try and get him back into it. I think that's because of his age. He's certainly on the back end of the final nine on the golf course. I just think it's going to be a game where the experience is going to take over. I'm not sure what Sam Darnold's going to come up with after a big game last week. Sort of was a shell of himself like he was at the Jets. How is he going to come up this week? I just feel like it's a little bit of who do you trust more in this sort of game. So I'm going to go with the Rams winning 35-30, I reckon.
Wow.
I'm incredibly interested to see the matchup. This sounds really stupid, and this is what I do best, is just bringing up something stupid off the bat. My matchup is Flores versus Stafford, and honestly, it's a lot to do with what happened earlier in their matchup at SoFi earlier in the year, and it's where Flores sends the house. He likes to go after the quarterback and try and get to him, but weirdly, the Rams had a really bad offensive line and they had issues of blocking for Stafford. And then all of a sudden they played against Flores and that Vikings defense, and they didn't go up and sack the entire game. So, and Stafford just did everything he wanted, and it's almost like he saw that coming, and he was able to get it out to Puka, and he was able to get it out to Kupp. And I almost feel like this Rams offense, the way that their receivers are set up, it's actually good seeing a blitz, because Puka and Kupp can catch a ball 2 yards out in front of the offensive line. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have guys that need to be 30 yards down the field catching their passes to actually do damage. So I actually think that Flores is probably going to need to tweak what he does against other teams against this Rams offense, because I think Stafford's seen it all. I don't think that it's just going to work what he does against everyone. And I'm worried for Flores because he seems to like to do the same thing against everyone. So I want to see what he does as something different, because if he just does what he does against everyone else, I honestly think Stafford's going to pick him apart. I think they're going to score the 35 points, like Nick just said, from their side. And do I believe that Sam Darnold can score more than 35 points in a playoff game? No, I don't. And I'll be honest, I'm leaning towards the Rams. This is my one upset I have picked in this, like, obviously this playoff setup. And it's really to do with Stafford against Darnold, and it's really much Stafford against Flores. I haven't seen Flores work out a different defense against different quarterbacks. He seems to pick something that works against 80 or 90% of quarterbacks, but I'm not sold that it's going to work against this Rams offense specifically, and it didn't earlier in the year, and I'm worried it's not going to here because these two main wide receivers that the Rams have don't need a lot of space. They can catch it from anywhere and do a lot of work with it, and obviously they can go to Kyron. I don't actually think it's going to be a huge Kyron game. I think the Vikings are very good against running backs. They seem to be able to stifle the running back position. I can see this being a huge Puka game. I can see Cup getting back involved. I just think it's going to be Stafford versus Flores, and I'm leaning Stafford.
That is Taylor, that was probably the best breakdown I've ever seen you give. So I'm not just blowing you smoke.
Mate, blow smoke up my ass all you want, mate.
It's a really weird.
can you break
it's
it
a
down,
really weird
Taylor?
backhanded compliment.
No, that was good. That was
No, because I'm used to my fantasy shit, but I felt like that was more specific to do with what I've seen.
It's really NFL based instead of fantasy based, which I know you and I can find that hard to separate.
Yeah, no, I thought it was really good. I'm going to keep it much more simple. Basically, to me, two factors are coming into this game, which I think will favors the Vikings a little bit. In that second game, the Vikings had 9 penalties. That's a lot. I don't know if you guys remember that game, but a lot of them were key situations too, and so they were just don't see that happening again. Just law of averages says it's not going to. But then I believe O'Connell is good at preparing his teams. And so I don't see the penalty situation happening again. And then also the other one, Hawkinson didn't play in that game, the previous game this season. And the Vikings don't do well the Rams don't do well against tight ends. So they're like the 4th worst team against a tight end.
So weird.
So I think, yeah. So I think
They have been for
Hawkinson-
years.
I mean,
Yeah.
Shit out
I mean-
against tight ends for years and years, too.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
to be fair, this year had 4 games against 2 of the Pro Bowlers in that division. So that's
true.
probably where the bulk of it is.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I don't have the specific breakdown, but I think between those two things, having Hawkinson and having I don't think they'll have nearly that many penalties in key situations. I think the Vikings are going to be hungry to prove that they are a legit team, even though they got beat 3 times, twice by the Lions, once by the Rams. They've got a chip on their shoulder now, and teams that play with the attitude tend to go at it a little bit harder. So I think it's going to be a close game. I'm tipping Vikings 21, Rams 20.
Wow. Yeah, so look, this one's going to be close. I think, again, coaching's going to be massive. And these two coaches know each other very well, of course. Talk about that Rams Super Bowl win. Kevin O'Connell was their offensive coordinator, got hired 3 days after by the Vikings to be their head coach. So these two really know each other. I think last week it was a big test there for Sam Darnold and the Vikings. Aaron Glenn, he sent in so much pressure. And really that was something that knocked Darnold off his game. Now, it's very interesting as well with the Rams. You talk about their trenches, you talk about their rushes. I think they've got 2 of their best rookies as rushers, as in Braden Frisk, the defensive tackle, and then edge Jared Verse, who's probably the defensive rookie of the year in the National Football League. So I feel like you've got those 2 really just doing well out there. I think they're going to be big factors as well in the trenches. I think the Vikings, as Brad said, they can cut out the penalties. Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like one of the aspects we haven't really talked about, I don't think the Rams corners line up as well against the Vikings receivers as the other way around. I think the Vikings secondary is a lot better suited to the pass game than the Rams secondary. I think that's an aspect we haven't touched on yet. I think the Vikings secondary has has been very elite. Of course, their celebrations have been elite too, as well. But I think the Vikings secondary can be a big factor in this game. They know how to make a turnover at the best possible time. I don't think the Rams will come in for a similar game plan than Aaron Glenn did against the Vikings. So, being really on the edge here, I think the Vikings will edge out the Rams. I have had no idea. I've been thinking the Rams most of this week, but just really thought about the Vikings the last couple of days. I think Kevin O'Connell will make the adjustments despite Sean McVay knowing him so well. I think O'Connell, he will make those adjustments, and I think he'll get the win. I think with the Vikings, they're going to win this one 30-24.
Matty,
30
you
to
got a score?
24. Tay has gone Rams. Nick has gone Rams. Manjot, Ian, Brad have gone Vikings. Oh, do I even the ledger here? Do I make it a 3-3?
Oh, yeah.
Go on, Matty. What are you going for a score?
My concern with the Rams, do you remember their Super Bowl MVP when they won? He's 5 for 59 this year. That's his average game line. Cooper Kupp is just not Cooper Kupp anymore. I think he actually... I think he retired partway through the year. I think something happened. Like, he's back on the field, and you do have to account for him, but accounting for him's not hard anymore. And it's Puka who's difficult, but even then, because Puka missed a lot of time, it's kind of hard to evaluate him over a whole season. But, you know, even if he did, like, he's fine. But Cooper Kupp, I'm nervous about Cooper Kupp. I don't know if he'll be a Ram next year. I think if you're smart in your Rams, you put him on the market and see if someone will take him for who his name is, and because his production's been awful, absolutely awful. And I think that's the problem for them, that they're very reliant on Kyron Williams getting them into a positive situation from first down, and he's been terrific at that. When they're not in a terrific position on first down, you like to think Kupp and Nakua are amazing horses, and half of them are. The other guy just isn't there. And I feel like I need to wash my fucking mouth out, because the other guy's Cooper fucking Kupp, but he's not Cooper Kupp anymore. So I'm actually going to make it a 4-2, and I'm also going the road favorite. I'm going to take the Vikings, and I think it'll be a one-score game, but I trust Addison more than I trust Kupp. Of course, Jefferson, he's a whole thing. Nakua's a whole thing. Your next target beyond Kupp is Demarcus Robinson. If you don't want to go to him, it's Tutu Atwell. If you don't want to go to him, is his name Jordan Whittington? Does anyone know?
Yes.
Once you get beyond Kupp, there's nothing, and Kupp hasn't been really anything. So I can't believe I'm saying that, but that's the truth. It's actually it's there, and everyone who can read can see it. So yeah, 26-18. I'm in purple this week.
Yeah.
I'm uncomfortable with so many people on the Vikings.
I mean, let me just say, I think, Matty, I've been reading your messages all week. You have been on the Rams hate wagon. I know Isaac's somewhere out there.
I'll be going after Isaac,
Matty's
mate.
just being, yeah,
That's
I know
good. That's
Isaac's somewhere out there. He's just
going
talking
after him.
something. He's just listening to this, and he's like, Matty's just talking shit right now.
Yeah.
Well,
He had a crack at my Jags earlier in the week once Peterson got fired too. So I'm watching you, Isaac.
all right, 27-24 for me, Matty.
And then we need Taylor.
Oh, the exact same score for the Rams.
27-24 Rams. Ian's 27-24
To score
Vikes. Woo! And Manjot's 30-20 Vikes. Brad was 21-20 Vikes. And Nick
30-24.
5-30 Rams. Cripes.
Yeah.
Can you believe we got to the end of the previews?
Yeah, finally. And if you want
Amazing.
to find out how that game in particular washes out for a Rams and a Vikings fan, you can tune into Reaction Show later on in the week. It'll be Tuesday afternoon, and you'll hear both Isaac and myself try and recap that show when one of us has lost a wildcard playoff to the other one. That'll be hilarious.
Yeah. It's going to be so good. Big secret for me, though, I'm still going San Francisco to take it all this year. I've got my Terrell Owens 81 on. I'm going San Francisco. They're going to take it all this year.
Interesting that you own some of the merch. That's very interesting.
Very
Yeah.
interesting.
And
Are
just
you
see,
saying they're going to take it?
tattered.
In the arse?
it's old. Mate, it's back when they used to win things.
Yeah. When was
That's
that?
true.
Does anyone remember that? It was the TV didn't come in color. It was the mid 90s.
All right. That is the end of the wildcard round previews. Boys, everybody has done an amazing job with that. So next up, and
Yeah,
we
bravo,
probably need
fellas.
well done. We probably need to move on with this because this is a mammoth podcast for people.
It's your big dog.
It is a big dog. We knew it was going to be with all of us doing it and 6 games to preview. There was no choice but to be a big dog in this one. And I mean, if you're raw dogging the whole thing at this point, well done. If you haven't just gone away and come back to it, it's like halfway through, or listen to it in 10-minute increments as you're driving down to the shops. Well done for getting this far. Keep on with us for just a little while longer as we go for Bloody Best Bets Playoff Edition.
We're having a punt, having a slap, just having some fun, and then making some scratch. It's the good 8 gridirons, bloody best bets.
And as we construct an AGN multi, boys, all we want out of everybody is one line, one betting line from anywhere, anything in the 6 games that are on this weekend. Any line that you could find on either TAB or Sportsbet is up for grabs. So let's do a quick whip around the room. Matty, you're not a bettor, so why don't we start? Why don't we start off with Matty? Because I assume this is going to be some really well thought out analysis and a bit of a long shot.
I think hard about this because this isn't my world, and I immediately looked at the line in the game that I was down to preview. So I went to the game I was looking at, which was Washington Tampa Bay, and I immediately looked at what's the handicap there, who gets the start, what's the line like that, and even with the points, Tampa Bay was shorter, like to eat the points. So I'm like, that's probably not so good. So I went to anytime touchdown, and Nick, mate, you and I, we're going to be singing Mike Evans. He's anytime touchdown is $2.18. I think if you ever wanted a safer way to double your money that wasn't just folded in half and put in your pocket, this is it. $2.18, you get a better than double your money, plus get your stake back. It's crazy to me to not take that up.
What a line. What a game. Manjot, do you want to hit us up with one?
Yeah, so I was going to go with Mike Evans.
I think we were all going to go Mike Evans if Matty didn't do it, to be honest. Who was going Mike Evans first, anytime TD? What have you got then, Manjot? What's your backup?
Yeah, my backup here, anytime touchdown scorer, last game of the week. I'm going Justin Jefferson, $2.10, so 8 cents shorter than what you'd get from Mike Evans. But I think Justin Jefferson, as I said, the Vikings receivers against the Rams secondary, I'm liking that more than the converse of that, the Vikings secondary against the Rams receivers. And I'm backing that with a Justin Jefferson touchdown.
All right. We're into the big time betters now.
The
GG boys and Taylor. Let's go. Nick has had a tremendous record this season. Nick,
yes.
What do you got for one line for the multi this week?
I'm going with the team one, as I usually do. And I was tossing up between one of the others of one of the upsets that I have made from earlier on. I am going to go with the Steelers plus 9.5. Way too many points. Way too many points for a divisional playoff game. 9.5 should be definitely enough. I mean, they'll be getting over a touchdown. So to be able to stay in this game. So I think they'll win outright. I just did say earlier on, I think it's going to be a game where they lock down the Ravens to an extent. So 9.5 is the play here.
$1.97 too. They're getting for 9.5 at the moment. Great. That is a great value for that. Big points. Brad, you want to hit us up with yours?
Yeah, Nick and I are betting on the same game, but we're taking opposite sides.
Oh boy, here we go. I don't know if I can do that, Brad. I can't put that into a bloody anytime TD. Anyway, you go for it, Brad.
Well, no, mine you can, because mine is actually a first half bet. So I've so it would be a long shot. I wouldn't recommend. Well, yeah. My bet is the Steelers have been struggling a lot in the first half, and the Ravens have not. Ravens have come out pretty hot in the first half. So, in fact, the Steelers in their last 4 games have been down by double digits in the first half. So, and the spread for the first half is Baltimore has to give 6.5 points. So I'm actually taking Baltimore in the first half spread of negative 6.5.
First half spread.
That would the odds of the minus
So
in the
mental.
first half, but plus for Steelers at full time would be awesome.
Oh, wouldn't it though?
Well,
Minus
technically,
half.
yeah, they could lead the first half by 7, and then that's
Oh,
it. The rest
easy.
of the game
Yeah.
just cruise.
They could lead by
Beautiful.
17 in the Steelers.
Okay, yeah. So just those 2 legs. So if you picked Baltimore to lose, or excuse me, yeah, Baltimore to be ahead by 7 points or more in the first half, but then Pittsburgh still to cover for the total game, getting 9. Then you're gonna get, you bet 675 is the odds.
This multi,
That's insane.
you have just made
That's
this
insane.
multi massive, Brad. What was the dollar?
It shows the negative correlation though, because those are $2.90 legs, but they're paying $6.75 combined.
I was going to ask that. Is that $1.90? Is Brad's leg $1.90? So I don't have
Mine's
to look
a
it up.
dollar. My leg's $1.87. Nick's is $1.97.
Righto.
But because of the negative correlation, it makes it $6.75.
All right,
Correct.
Taylor.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you go next. I'll bring up the rear.
Yep.
Yeah, for the match
I've gone the last game. I've got a player that's averaging 11.2 targets per game over the last 8 weeks. He's hit this number that I'm about to say 3 of the last 4 games. The only one he missed was a weird shit weather game against the Niners, and he was still 7 for 97. I'm taking Puka for over 7.5 receptions. The Vikings were last in fantasy against wide receivers, and they were also 4th last in yardage given up through the passing game. They've got a great rushing defense, so I think the Rams are going to have to do it in the passing game, and I just think Puka Nacua is the absolute safest bet by a mile, so I'm taking him over 7.5 receptions.
What's it paying at the moment, mate?
$1.90 even.
$1.90 even. All right. I'm going to that most hated game, and Packers Eagles. One of my backups there. I'm into my 3rd backup, by the way, with some of you lot. I'm going what should be a pretty safe bet, and it will be Prince Barkley, 100 plus yards on the ground at $1.77.
What's that for, sorry?
Saquon Barkley, 100 plus rush yards at $1.77.
Yeah, nice.
So I'm going to go for that.
This doesn't matter. Can I just give an honourable mention? I kind of touched on it earlier. It was only if someone had taken my bet earlier than me, and I needed to sort of pivot. I had McConkey over 5.5 receptions.
Yeah.
I
Nice.
kind of did it on the Chargers Texans preview. He's hit that number 6 of the last 7 games, and the only time he didn't hit it, he had 5. The Texans are 7th in yards given up in receiving, but they were 25th against fantasy wide receivers, which makes me think that they're better off. You're better off taking the receivers to have receptions than you are yardage and touchdowns, because clearly they're giving it up underneath. So I think McConkey's going to have a big reception game in that one.
Right. Okay. I'm just totaling up everything here. 6-leg multi. If you go all 6 of these legs, Steelers plus 9.5, Ravens first half spread minus 6.5, Puka Nacua plus 7.5 receptions, Justin Jefferson anytime TD, Mike Evans anytime TD, and Saquon Barkley 100 plus rushing yards, then that will come out at a multi price of $88.50.
Oh, we're back. 88 houses we're going to win.
$88.50.
Fire it up.
And you better believe, boys, just for Brad and Nick, I am putting that on in the G'day Gridiron
Damn straight.
bet with mates group. 100%. We are putting.
Someone just put $1 on for me because I don't bet and I don't have an account, but I'm in. For a
We are
dollar,
putting
I'm
that
in.
on. Oh, mate, we bet little amounts on ours because it's all about being right and having our
Ian,
analysis.
can you
be
put
good.
$1 on for me, mate? I'll send you $1 in the post.
Can you put 50 cents
Can you do
on
that?
so that
You won't need to put it. You won't need to send me $1, Matty, because we're going to come out in the green. It's going to be all good.
if you
I'll
put
send you
50
$1.
cents on, that'll cover my beers. I've got to give Matty C for the Jags beating the Titans.
Yeah, since he gets them from his company for free, the cheapskate. He doesn't even buy them.
We're going to have to put at least $10 on to cover the amount of gins that you've drunk tonight, though, mate. So,
Great.
4 or 5 barrel brewing. They've been hurt tonight.
Fired, mate.
all right, that is. We've descended into madness finally. Thank you for sticking around for this preview show for the AGN playoff series. It has been amazing. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for the fantasy version of this, and then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, there will be a reaction show with at least Isaac and I Tuesday after all the games have been done and played. So make sure you stick around for that. If you want to find out any more or react with us to every game as we go along, linktree /Aussie Gridiron Network. Hit that up right now. If you are listening to this before any playoff games have started, also there is a AGN playoff tipping competition. I'm struggling to think of words at this time of night. A bracket. Make sure you get onto that. Get on that link tree. There is a link to that as well, and play along with us. We are giving away an AGN merch pack to the winner of that. So get on there.
Some cool shit in that.
So
Hat, a shirt, sticker. It's pretty cool.
yeah, we've just had a bunch of guys win some stuff from our tipping comp this year already.
Giving away shit.
We're giving away shit. So get on there. Win more
giving
free
away
shit. Linktree /Aussie Gridiron Network. It's all there. And on behalf of everybody in this group, myself, Matty, Manjot, Brad, Taylor, Nick, and everybody else at AGN, thank you very much for joining us. And we will catch you tomorrow for another show.
Thanks for everyone for getting a rubber and raw dogging this podcast. I need to do a shit. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Under southern skies we roar again. Gridiron warriors feel the strain. From deserts wide to coastal plains, battlegrounds where legends reign. Aussie gridiron pride unchained. Hear the thunder, feel the flame. Touchdowns and tackles, ain't no shame in the Aussie gridiron game. From Brisbane light to Perth so bold, stories of the brave now told. Every yard with hearts of gold in this